They will address all those issues this week and try and come out a more rounded team next week against New Zealand.
Well, we will leave the rugby there. Thank you very much to the team and welcome you to race day here at Zandvoort for the Dutch Grand Prix. The atmosphere is electric, the grandstands a sea of orange, and the stage is set for another chapter in this incredible Formula One season. We're less than 5 minutes away from lights out for round 15 of the championship. Joining myself, Harry Benjamin, to guide you through all the coverage, and every lap is reigning F1 Academy champion, a race winner around this circuit, to Abby Pulling. Abby, it's been papaya on top all weekend long, and it was so close between Piastri and Norris in qualifying yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it is McLaren's race to lose today, but the rain could come into play. We're not seeing any blue skies above the circuit, so there is a chance that could mix up the order a little bit.
Well, just 12 thousandths of a second separated Oscar Piastri, who starts on pole, from his teammate Lando Norris. Let's hear from both McLaren drivers. We'll hear from Lando Norris, but first we'll hear from the pole man, Oscar Piastri.
So I'm starting from the best spot, so hopefully I don't have to do too much work, but yeah, just try and have a good start, and you know, if I can keep some clean air, then that would be pretty handy for my race, let's say.
Are there any decisions made beforehand about swapping or that kind of thing?
Nope. Swapping will be if you get overtaken, so let's see what happens.
Lando, you have good memories here. You won here last time out at Zandvoort. What's the game plan for today?
I mean, there's not a lot I can do, but you know, the start's always a good opportunity, and it's still a long race, many laps. Yeah, hopefully some things I can try, but we both have good pace. You know, I don't expect to have much better pace, so we'll see what I can come up with.
The sun is shining. Is that good for your car?
Everything's good for our car, so I don't mind, but probably a little bit of rain would make things a little bit more interesting for everyone, so we'll wait and see.
Well, it's a front row lockout for the McLaren drivers. Speaking there with Amber Branston. One man who will know the strategy a little bit more than us is Zach Brown, the CEO of McLaren. He's down on the grid speaking with Rosanna Tennant.
Zach, congratulations on yesterday's result. How are you going to manage this afternoon's Grand Prix?
They're free to race, business as usual. Excited. Qualifying was amazing, watching both these guys get the absolute maximum out of the race car. And, you know, I think Max is definitely in the game here. His pace looks good. So I think we have a three-driver race pending some conditions that might throw some curveballs everyone's way.
You're sticking to your philosophy of how you go racing, but I guess the impact that philosophy can have may change in the coming races. Are you prepared for that?
Yeah, we're one race at a time. So today it's may the best man win. And we're excited. You know, we're a racing team, and I'm glad we're able to give our drivers and put them in a position where they can fight it out for the World Championship. So let's see what today brings us.
And the engineering briefing before the guys got in the car, I'm sure you've got a plan, but when the lights go out, does each side of the garage then kind of have freedom to do what they want?
No, we work together, but we also recognize they want to run their own races. So there's a good balance there of open and transparent communications. They know the rules of engagement, so do the engineers. So it's enjoyable being on pit wall and watching it all play out.
It's enjoyable being in the pit lane and at home as well.
It's good fun.
Good luck.
The CEO of McLaren, Zach Brown, speaking with Rosanna Tennant. McLaren, who have been the team to beat all weekend, but the home crowd only has eyes for Max Verstappen, who'll be desperate to throw a spanner in the works. Fernando Alonso has looked menacing too. Ferrari are searching for recovery, and Mercedes and George Russell are in with a shout of the podium. 72 laps lie ahead of us at one of the trickiest circuits in Formula One. Fast, narrow, and unforgiving. It's coming up to 2 o'clock in the UK. It's time for the Dutch Grand Prix. Starting from the pit lane will be the Haas driver of Oliver Behrman after power unit changes. 19 cars on the grid, the last of them, Lance Stroll in 19th. Then it's Esteban Ocon in 18th. Ahead of him will be Nico Hulkenberg 17th. Franco Colapinto starts 16th behind Alex Albon's Williams. Pierre Gasly goes from 14th on the grid, right behind Gabriel Bortoleto and Yuki Tsunoda from 12th. Kimi Antonelli just misses out on the top 10 in 11th. Fernando Alonso starts 10th. Carlos Sainz in the Williams from 9th behind Liam Lawson in the Racing Bulls. Lewis Hamilton in the Ferrari behind his teammate in 7th. Leclerc just ahead. Into the top 5, it's George Russell in 5th behind Isaac Hadjar's Racing Bull in 4th. Max Verstappen is 3rd, and it's a front row lockout for McLaren. It's Lando Norris in 2nd and your championship leader Oscar Piastri on pole. 19 cars on the grid then, one from the pit lane. Abby Pulling, it's a tricky track to overtake on. Where are the opportunities going to be on that first lap?
It is, and it's really important here to retain their tyre temp and get the tyres up to temperature going up to the start, as we're seeing them do some burnouts to make sure that they get a good launch. I actually saw Isaac Hadjar on the formation lap lock up into turn 1, so maybe a little bit of the nerves getting to him there, the rookie driver. There is going to be a lot of strategy talk this race, isn't there, Rosanna Tennant? Between a 1 or a 2 stop, what more do we know?
Well, I had a chat with Pirelli before leaving the grid, and they told me that they didn't expect to see anyone start on the soft, but then I've just seen Max Verstappen's chosen to go on the softest compound available, the only driver to do so in the top 10. They said it doesn't give a driver flexibility, so really interesting that Verstappen has chosen that soft tire, I assume, so he can attack off the start line to try and get between those McLarens.
It will be Max Verstappen who will want to throw a spanner in the works, that soft rubber, trying to get him more grip off the start to see if he can pick off maybe one of the McLarens and find himself in between them. Coming into this race in the standings, Oscar Piastri leads the championship by 9 points to his teammate Lando Norris. Max Verstappen quite a way back, 97 points back, is 3rd, as Oscar Piastri is already in his grid spot waiting for Lando Norris to line up. In the teams, it is McLaren who are away and clear by almost 300 points. Ferrari lies 2nd, then it's Mercedes, Red Bull in 4th. Williams leading the fight in the midfield, which is tighter than ever. We'll be looking out for that across 72 laps of racing. They're ahead of Aston Martin and Sauber, with Racing Bulls, Haas and Alpine the last of them, as the cars are now lined up on the grid. The dunes are lined with fans. Wind a constant here, right on the coast of the North Sea. 19 cars will be on the grid. One in the pit lane as Ollie Behrman peels in now in his Haas. The front row is locked out by McLaren. The two championship protagonists ready to fight into the right-hander of Tarzan. 72 laps await us around this circuit, Zandvoort. The summer break is over. F1 is back to school. It's all eyes to the lights and foot to the floor as we go racing in Zandvoort. Piastri, a good start, has to immediately cut across to the inside to fend off Norris as Max Verstappen sweeps round the outside. Piastri tries to edge him out to the circuit edge, and he does so. That allows Norris back through, but not enough. There's almost contact. Verstappen has a huge wobble going into the left-hander of turn 3. He just about saves it and is ahead of Lando Norris. Max Verstappen has split the two McLarens as they head towards 4, 5 and 6 now. It is Piastri who leads Verstappen from Lando Norris in 3rd. George Russell there getting a really, really poor start as well, having a massive snap of oversteer trying to fend off the likes of the Ferrari, Charles Leclerc. He swoops on past through turn 3, and now he's battling between the two Ferraris. Isaac Hadjar has done a good job to hold on to 4th. We're having a look through. They make their way through the left-hander. Fernando Alonso fighting with one of the Mercedes cars. That's Kimi Antonelli further back as they make their way now to the chicane of 12 and 13. One small mistake around this circuit can see you fly off into the gravel, as already around this 4.259 kilometre track they approach the final corner now, which spits you out down the long start-finish straight to start lap 2 of 72. It's Piastri who leads Verstappen. Norris is 3rd as Charles Leclerc has a little look to the inside at Tarzan, the right-hander trying to make his way through on the car in front, which is Isaac Hadjar, currently operating in 4th. Leclerc 5th, Russell 6th, Hamilton is 7th, Lawson is 8th, Sainz is 9th, and Albon currently rounds out the top 10. Good start for the Williams driver of Alex Albon. He started this race down in 15th. Superb start for him, up into the points.
Charles Leclerc trying on turn 1, really lost his momentum to Isaac Hadjar, and now in the clutches of George Russell. Although he's looking pretty fast in the middle sector, it's nip and tuck trying to get track position on these early laps.
As we now start to settle into a bit of a rhythm, Charles Leclerc looking at the back of Isaac Hadjar, who is just starting to lose touch with Lando Norris ahead. It was a mighty qualifying for the French rookie yesterday, a career best qualifying. We're not expecting him to be as strong when it comes to race pace. We're certainly looking at Racing Bulls having a good points haul here. However, Charles Leclerc will be desperate to get past the French rookie and try and keep himself in the hunt for maybe a podium position. Lap 3 of 72, Oscar Piastri leads. Max Verstappen with a good start. Has managed to split the two McLarens after the first lap. Isaac Hadjar is 4th, keeping Charles Leclerc at bay. He's actually just had to back off slightly. Then it's Russell, Hamilton, Lawson, Sainz, Albon the top 10. Tsunoda is up 1 into 11th. Antonelli and Alonso, the big losers on the first lap, down 12th and 13th. Gasly's 14th, Colapinto is 15th. Then it's Hülkenberg, Ocon, Bortoletto with Lance Stroll and Ollie Behrman from the pit lane now catching up to the back of the pack.
This is the worst scenario for the McLaren of Lando Norris, dropping off the back now of Max Verstappen, him getting the launch, which we kind of expected, starting on the soft tyre, but really big frustration for him. It won't be easy now to try and get that track position back.
Okay, we expect Class 1 rain for 8 minutes around lap 7. May or may not require an unclear.
That's what we like to hear. Maybe a bit of light rain, Class 1 rain expected in a few laps' time then. Rosanna Tennant, as we settle into a bit of a rhythm. Piastri starting to pull clear now, but there is that small thread of rain which could spice things up nicely.
There really is. Class 1 in a few minutes, but I was told there could be Class 2 or even Class 3 rain at 4 o'clock local time, so just under an hour. That would really spice things up, Harry. But just looking at Verstappen's strategy, it was bold, it was aggressive to take that soft tyre. He's pushing now. Yes, the gap is slightly increasing between himself and race leader Piastri, but don't expect the soft to last much more than 13 to 19 laps. That's what the tyre manufacturer Pirelli are telling us. So yes, he's used it to his advantage at the start of the race, but it's interesting to see how long it'll be able to go for.
If it starts to rain though, by lap 7, which we're hearing, the soft tyre and the strategy that Red Bull have taken, it seems like that could be the ideal strategy, and they've kind of thought ahead of the process, and that, hey, actually we're going to expect the rain and we're going to react and try and use the soft tyre.
This is surely exactly what Red Bull and Max Verstappen were hoping to do. Verstappen, the only front runner with a new set of soft tyre, which gave him that little bit extra grip, that quicker purchase off the line at the start. But he had to fight for it. Piastri really edged him to the outside of the track at turn 1. Actually, Piastri didn't get the best of starts, but the turn 1 turning point comes sooner than you think, and he'd done just about enough. Verstappen then really fought hard to get that second place back, almost lost the car, and the rear end on the dirty part of the track had to straight line it almost on the inside line towards the left-hander of turn 3, Hugenholz, that hugely steeped bank corner. As we're just getting another look now at the start, Abby, and if we have a look at Max Verstappen already alongside Lando Norris and had that outside line going into turn 1.
Yeah, it was really close between the three cars, the 2 McLarens and the Red Bull going into turn 2. He's really committed on the brakes, but as we see a massive plume of dust on the outside of turn 2 actually mean that the Red Bull of Max Verstappen lost the rear end.
And nearly collected Piastri, managed to stop it in time. This is the sound of Oscar Piastri, who went quite deep into turn 1. That actually benefited his teammate initially, who was going to lose out there. Norris would have been down to 3rd, and then it really Constantine is up, coming into the tight right-hander of 2, and that is where Verstappen found himself on the dirty side of the track. The dust kicked up. This is the sound on board the Dutchman, who's won here 3 times in a row before. that was the sound of him actually running the front left tyre over the grass upon entry into the left-hander of turn 3. That gave Piastri a bit of a reprieve, and Piastri now leads by 2.8 seconds. Max Verstappen in second. It was a really bad start for Gabriel Bortoleto. Did not get the start of dreams. Fell all the way back from, he started this race in 13th, fell all the way back to 19th, pretty much last of the runners that were on the grid. Was fighting with the likes of Lance Stroll, who we expect to have decent race pace here after a crash in the first part of qualifying. Didn't get the chance to show what speed he had in that car. Another good starter was for Franco Colapinto in the pink and blue Alpine, the Argentine, very much under pressure for his race seat for next year, actually fighting with his teammate Pierre Gasly down the inside with the aid of DRS. Yeah, after 6 laps of racing, Oscar Piastri with a lead of over almost 3 seconds ahead of Max Verstappen, who has managed to get himself in between the two McLarens. Lando Norris down to third with some rain expected imminently. Right, lap 6 of 72, the order. Piastri, Verstappen, Norris, that top 3. Hadjar doing a good job to hold on to 4th.
So we're expecting this rain to be light initially, but will last 7 to 10 laps.
So that's George Russell being told that they are expecting rain, well, to be, I suppose, now. It is lap 7, but to last a few laps and not be too heavy. Russell's currently in 6th, Leclerc is 5th, Hamilton, Lawson, Sainz and Albon the top 10.
At this point as a driver you'll be starting to see the raindrops on the visor, but it is purely, when it's so light, it's purely a mental battle at that point. The small raindrops won't be making too much of a difference to the grip available to the drivers, but if it starts to get heavier and lasting for a long period of time, that's when it starts to really need the drivers to adapt and find the grip of where it's changing. But at the moment, looking fairly dry.
Yeah, it is, and all 20 runners still in this race. Piastri leads, Behrman is the car right at the back of the field. Let's check in Rosanna Tennant.
Well, I'm going to give you a little bit of a weather update, Harry. No rain as yet down here in the paddock and pit lane, but it's got a lot cooler. When we're on the grid, it's always a little warmer on the grid, but it felt very muggy. It has got a little cooler and a little breezier, so not sure, will that rain materialise or not? It's just very overcast, but we haven't got those really dark, threatening clouds we've had over the last couple of days.
Yeah, air temperature 20.6 degrees, track temperature 27.7 degrees. The wind as well certainly has an effect here. Right on the North Sea coastline, aren't we? Literally nestled in the Dutch dunes. A few moments ago there we saw some contact and a bit of a tangle between Bortoleto and Lance Stroll. Looks like the Brazilian's lost actually a part of his end plate. That incident has been noted by the stewards for causing a collision, so we'll keep you abreast of if that gets upgraded. Meanwhile, Isaac Hadjar, currently in 4th, career best qualifying in that Racing Bulls. The French rookie, while he's 2 seconds back from Norris, losing touch slightly, he is proving, I think, quite the annoyance for Charles Leclerc's Ferrari.
Yeah, he's doing an incredible job to keep ahead of the Ferrari, although Charles does have the DRS, he's within range, and Hadjar's pushing his own air, so it will be tough to keep the likes of Charles behind, especially with all the experience that Charles does have, but he is looking really comfortable in that RB car.
Fastest lap for Oscar Piastri. Piastri's putting in a stint now with possible rain on the horizon. He's trying to create himself as much of a gap as he can to Max Verstappen, who started on the soft tyre. They were quick at the beginning, but they'll degrade quicker. Max Verstappen now 4.2 seconds back and having to look in his mirrors because Lando Norris is just half a second behind him. And he is coming for him. The papaya car approaches the Dutchman to turn 1. Verstappen takes to the inside to defend. Round the right-hander at Tarzan. Norris sweeps round the outside. And on the exit of the corner, Norris is through and up into 2nd. Verstappen can do no more but see the man who lies is 2nd in the Constructors power his way past, up the hill, out of turn 3 and away. Norris 2nd, Verstappen now down to 3rd.
Max Verstappen will not be liking that. I think he's one of the few drivers, one of the many drivers on the grid that will not like being overtaken around the outside, and with such ease as well on the medium tyre. Norris just swooped on past, so a lot of work now to do for Verstappen. I'm guessing he's praying for the rain to come.
Nice job. Let's go get Oscar.
That's the encouragement from Lando Norris's race engineer, Will Joseph. Let's go and get Oscar. Further confirmation then that there are no team orders between these two McLaren drivers other than not to crash into each other. Ideally, they are here to fight. But now a 4-second gap to overcome between Piastri and Lando Norris.
Yeah, 4.5 seconds is a big chunk to make up, but we're still very early stages in the race, so nothing that Lando can't do. He's also shown previously, especially with his experience in Formula One, that he has that race pace over Oscar. So I'm not doubting that he can make that deficit up.
We've had one pit stopper, by the way. Early stop for Lance Stroll. Nothing really to lose for the Canadian. At the back of the pack, came in about a lap or so ago and put the hard tyre on, as we have Kimi Antonelli in the Mercedes in 12th, looking all over the back of Yuki Tsunoda's Red Bull in 11th. It's actually roles reversed there. Antonelli started this race in 11th. Tsunoda started it in 12th. So Tsunoda's made up a position here, but struggling to get inside that top 10 with Antonelli all over the back of him.
Both the Red Bulls actually opted to start on the soft tyre, so Tsunoda struggling as well as Max on that soft tyre to keep up the pace on lap 10 now. So Kimi Antonelli, I'm sure, will be able to get closer in that DRS zone as he is, but Yuki Tsunoda is also right on the back of Albon, who's in P10, so it's a bit of a DRS train forming.
I think we're about to see maybe another pit stop. The Alpine mechanics coming out and just having a look at some tyres. Franco Colapinto running in 14th on the soft tyre. Expect him to be in before Pierre Gasly, who he is just ahead of, 14th and 15th for the two Alpine drivers. No further investigation between that little incident between Lance Stroll and Gabriel Bortoleto, so they are free to carry on racing. Stroll having pitted now at the back of the pack. Lap 11 of 72. Piastri is 4.2 seconds clear now of Lando Norris, but Norris has just set the fastest lap and is now trying to close down on his teammate Verstappen in third. Then it's Hadjar in fourth, still with Charles Leclerc company in fifth, followed by George Russell. Hamilton is seventh, Liam Lawson is eighth, ahead of Carlos Sainz and the other Williams driver of Alex Albon occupying the top 10 positions. Tsunoda is 11th, ahead of Antonelli still. Alonso started 10th, lost positions down to 13th, ahead of those two Alpines. Hulkenberg is 16th, ahead of Ocon. Bortoleto, after a poor lap 1, is down to 18th, ahead of Ollie Behrman, who started from the pit lane, and Lance Stroll, who started last on the grid and is the first and only pit stopper so far.
Norris looks like a man on a mission here. He's really clawing away that gap already. Purple sector 1, fastest of anyone so far in the race. Green sector 2. So now the gap has gone down from almost being 5 seconds to 4 seconds on the dot. So I think over the next couple of laps, if he keeps putting in sector times like this, it should be by the pit window very close.
Yeah, we're expecting a one stop for most of the field, and if all stays as it is, if you can make the medium tyre last, pit window for the medium tyre runners should open at around about lap 28. So it's lap 12 at the moment as Lando Norris pumps in another fastest lap. So actually this is decent for Norris. He's got a bit of clear air, he's got 4 seconds a gap, but the closer he gets will also prove detrimental for his tyres as well, as he gets in that dirty air of his teammate.
That is the most frustrating thing around here at Zandvoort. The middle sector, although so fun, it is all high speed, and once you're in the dirty air, you get a lot of understeer, and that rear left and front left have a lot of kind of they're working it so hard, it's constantly turning right. You've got 3 right-handers in a row, and they just give up by the end. So that's where the drivers will really need to manage it.
Charles Leclerc currently in 5th, the man who started in 6th. He actually finished on the podium from that position last year, but right now Hadjar proving a blockade.
I'm a bit scared about Bortoleto, by the way. It's nothing. Copy.
That's Ollie Behrman, who is right behind Gabriel Bortoleto, who sustained a bit of front wing end plate damage with his tussle with Lance Stroll. They're fighting over 18th and 19th, and Behrman might just be hoping that gets picked up by race control, and race control might have a word with Sauber to bring Bortoleto in for a front wing change if they deem that to be unsafe with the flapping of that rear wing end plate. So we'll see how that unfolds. At the moment, Bortoleto still ahead of Behrman down in 18th. Down through the gears into Tarzan, turn 1 for Kimi Antonelli, who is desperately trying to get himself into the points. Just missed out on a top 10 in qualifying, did the Italian, who turned 19 years of age in the last week. He's all over the back of the Red Bull of Yuki Tsunoda. But as you say, Abby, once they get into that middle sector, so tricky to find a way through.
Yeah, I would say Antonelli just looks like he's stuck here behind Yuki. Yuki is on the slower tyre at this point. It's 13 laps old, that soft tyre, and they'll be looking to pit soon. Yeah, Antonelli just can't find a way past, and it's really, really hurting him at this stage in the race.
As they fight, though, I'll tell you what, they're bringing in Fernando Alonso into this, and the two Alpines aren't far behind either. It's not for points at the moment, but 11th, 12th, 13th and 14th, with Gasly in 15th, all starting to close in on each other through this circuit, as Alonso now arcs his way out of the chicane, the left-hander, then approaches the penultimate corner of 13. That's where you start to see the incline. 18 degrees of banking. The car almost pitched up on its side as you get slingshotted out of the final corner, down the start-finish straight, and then once again you're in to turn one. Tsunoda still holding on underneath the pressure of Kimi Antonelli's Mercedes. 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th and 15th, all within a second of each other, but no points up for grabs at the moment on lap 14 of 72. Gap at the front has come down as well, just under 3.5. Oscar Piastri leads the Grand Prix after 14 laps of racing, but now Lando Norris has overtaken Max Verstappen and has got himself up into second place and is now closing down on his teammate. Verstappen left adrift now in third. We're still waiting for some rain to arrive, though, as the strategy continues to unfold here in Zandvoort. 3.3 seconds is the gap between Piastri and Norris, so it is coming down lap by lap.
Yeah, and we also saw Lance Stroll go over the end plate of Bortoletto, the debris that was left by of the damage he sustained from the crash with Stroll, or the contact with Stroll. Yeah, hopefully we won't be seeing a puncture from that, but we'll have to wait and see.
Piastri, Norris, Verstappen the top three, Hadjar, Leclerc the top five, Russell, Hamilton, Lawson, Sainz, Albon the top 10. They are your point scorers. As Oscar Piastri reports, I've got drops of rain on my visor. Are we about to see the first light drops of weather approaching this circuit?
And this is the most frustrating thing with leading. Although it's always lovely to lead, you're the first one to go through the conditions. So as the rain, or if the rain gets any harder, he'll be the first one to have to test out braking later and the grip mid-corner, maybe have a few moments, as we saw actually at the start of the year in Australia, the two McLarens going off.
Yeah, absolutely. And ultimately, while Norris was able to recover in Melbourne to take the win, Piastri was the big loser on that front, got himself stuck in the grass and had to reverse back onto the track as the rain started to come down in Melbourne all the way back in March. As we're just getting a look at that front wing end plate finally falling off of Gabriel Bortoletto's car. Okay, gap at the front, 3.1 seconds. Piastri leads Lando Norris. Let's head down on the ground, get an update. Rosanna Tennant.
Harry, it's not as wild as the weather we had in Melbourne, but the rain has started to fall. It's the finest raindrops. I had to come out of the media zone area just to check, but yes, tiny spits of rain. Nothing too troubling at the moment, but the cloud cover is still here, looking a little darker. So, will we get a big downpour? Is this grade 1? I think we'll call this grade 1, maybe grade half.
Can we get you to do a bit of a rain dance, Rosanna? if the other journalists don't mind you you finding a bit of space for yourself. I'm
doing a little bit now. I'm just jigging on the spot, and earlier on when I was on the grid I was following the instructions on the big screens which kept on saying put your hands up, so I was very good at it. Was like I was in an aerobics class.
Well, I tell you what, there are a few coats going on in the grandstands, a couple of Pacamacs being zipped up. Are we about to see this turn into a intermediate condition race? Zach Brown, the CEO of McLaren, sat on the pit wall with his arm stretched out into the pit lane, feeling the rain. Lap 17 of 72. Piastri, 3.1 seconds clear at the front from his teammate Lando Norris.
That's better than a weather radar, isn't it? Just sticking your hand out, taking your cap off, and yeah, a few spots of rain here and there.
Sometimes they are better than the radar, isn't it? It can tell you you're missing the rain, but it's there right with you. The McLaren's now starting to peel away from Max Verstappen in third. Max Verstappen, who started on the soft tyre, and while that benefited him at the start to get ahead of the two McLarens, eventually Norris managed to get the Dutchman. And speak of Red Bull, his teammate Yuki Tsunoda has still got Kimi Antonelli for company, side by side through turn one. They start to concertina up through the tight right-hander of 2. Kimi Antonelli has to give way as they get spat out of Hugenholtz, the left-hander of 3. And Antonelli left once more frustrated to be staring at the rear of Yuki Tsunoda's Red Bull. The gap between Norris and Verstappen's about 12.7 seconds back from the 2 McLarens, who are starting to pull away here. But with this rain starting to come down, at the moment it's not having an impact on whether to come in and change for tyres. In terms of coming into the pit lane, under a green flag you'll lose about 23 seconds. The other factor to bear in mind here is we could easily get a safety car or a virtual safety car or maybe even a red flag. Based on the last few races we've had here at Zandvoort, there's about a 50% possibility of a safety car.
Yeah, Kimi Antonelli is not letting up either with Yuki Tsunoda. He's right on the back of him, going down now the main straight out through turn 14, the banked corner, very iconic here at Zandvoort, but not quite able to get close enough as we go into turn 1 here. Maybe have a look up the inside. No, we've seen him a few times put pressure on, and a lot of the times Yuki goes wide at turn 1 but just isn't able to prosper from it.
He's almost got to force Yuki into a mistake, hasn't he, and try and get him to snatch a break or lock up. Tsunoda's tyres will be screaming enough before Kimi Antonelli. Tsunoda started on the soft tyre, that Red Bull rubber tyre, which will degrade quicker than Antonelli's medium tyre. But Tsunoda has actually got a bit of clear air in front of him as well. Albon is ahead of him, but Tsunoda's got about 4 seconds of air in front of him that may be proving that little bit of an advantage for the Japanese driver.
Definitely having clear air here at Zandvoort helps, having to give the front left a bit of a break through the high load corners of the middle sector. And yeah, Antonelli actually will be really detrimental to his race because he'll be wearing that tyre out quicker than he'd like, trying to get past and regain that track position.
Isaac Hadjar in 4th, still holding firm and hoping to snatch some big points. Isaac Hadjar, who has been pointless since Spain. He's had 5 Grand Prix points finishes so far, and has looked good all year long, and has certainly had some great qualifyings over the last few races, but the races have not gone his way. Could that change today in the Dutch dunes, right on the coastline of the North Sea is where you find this Zandvoort circuit. We're about 35 kilometres west of Amsterdam as we've got action in the pit lane. It's Fernando Alonso. Now he's probably pitted to try and just get himself out of this battle with Tsunoda and Antonelli. He wasn't going to make any gains there, so I suppose why not come in for a pit stop? And he's come out, feeds out on the exit of turn 2, and he's put the hard tyre on.
This race weekend, for all the sessions we've had chances of rain, yet all of them have been shining blue skies. This is the first kind of taste we've got of a little bit of rain. There's a few raindrops as we can see on some of the cameras, but nothing major yet.
The crucial point in that.
I don't know how the tyres, how's the pace?
Yeah, it's starting to struggle a little bit more now with the rears.
Yeah, that was Lando Norris saying struggling a little bit more with the rear tyres now. He's kind of got to 3.5 seconds and is not making as huge inroads now as he was over the last few laps.
Yeah, maybe pushed a little bit too soon there, and as we saw in their practice as well, that Piastri actually was a bit faster on the end phase of his long run.
Well, we've got more action in the pit lane, and coming into the Red Bull pit box is Yuki Tsunoda, followed by the Alpine of Franco Colapinto. One of the Sauber cars as well has come in. 3.2 second stop for Tsunoda. So for those just outside the top 10, they've decided to come in. Tsunoda peels out of the pit lane. I think he's put on the hard tyre as the Japanese driver, as we are now into lap 20 of 72. So that's released Antonelli into 11th now to try and push on here. Colapinto came in, and it was Nico Hulkenberg as well, as the rain now starting to look a little bit more visible, certainly on the screens that we're looking at. Let's get a check-in on that weather. Rosanna.
Yeah, Harry, it's much heavier now, really coming down. So this is really interesting. For those drivers that have just pitted, they may well be regretting it. Yeah,
you have to question that decision, but will it turn heavy enough to cause carnage? This is the sound of Lewis Hamilton, who was kind of stayed where he started, really. Started in 7th and has stayed there, and he is right behind his old teammate Charles Leclerc as they teeter their way through turn 1.
Lando, can you get closer to the car ahead?
I can give you a touch.
as Norris being asked if he can get closer to Piastri. Of course, I meant Lewis Hamilton is just behind his old teammate George Russell as they come out of turn 3. So Norris being asked to see if he can get a touch closer to Piastri. 3.4 seconds now the gap. Piastri leads Norris, Verstappen in third, about 13 seconds back. Then comes Hadjar, Leclerc is 5th, then it's Russell, Hamilton 7th, Lawson in 8th ahead of the 2 Williams cars of Sainz and Albon. Antonelli now up into 11th ahead of Gasly. Ocon is 13th. Bortoletto is under investigation, by the way, for his car being in an unsafe manner with that front wing end plate flapping about before it broke off. Behrman is 15th behind him. Stroll, who was pitted, is 16th ahead of his teammate Fernando Alonso, who's just come in for the hard tyre, along with Tsunoda. So too for Colapinto and Nico Hulkenberg's Sauber. They are now at the back of the field. They've all gone onto the hard tyre, as we have just seen some pictures in the pit lane of the rain coming down slightly harder, but still no big moves from the front runners yet.
Yeah, as Norris has been asked to get closer to Oscar ahead, the gap is stretching out even more now, back up to 3.6 seconds. So it was the closest I think he got was 3 seconds. So a few mistakes maybe in there, not too comfortable with that rear end, as he said, on the heavy accelerations, probably struggling with a bit of overheating. We'll see how the tyres hold on, and also if this rain keeps coming, because that will really throw a spanner in the works.
Well, also you've got painted white lines, you've got red and white curbing here. The grass is not far away, and we've seen it in practice already for quite a lot of drivers, finding the gravel, spinning out into the grass.
Definitely have to undercut these guys. It's hard to get closer.
We're on it.
That's Lewis Hamilton, who is trying to tell his team that, well, really, we need to undercut the cars ahead to get in front of them. That means Lewis Hamilton wants to come into the pits and change tyres before Russell and Leclerc to try and then get out. Bit of clear air, fresher rubber, to see if he can make up enough time in clean air to overtake them when they eventually have to come in for their pit stops. Talking about spinning off, it was Lewis Hamilton who actually had a couple of spins in practice. All it takes is for you to find a little bit of a wet patch, and in you go. Hamilton, who's just asked to come into the pits, he stays out another lap. Charles Leclerc comes into the pits from 6th place and from 5th place, and puts himself onto a new stop of tyres. 2 seconds the pit loss time he was stationary for outside of his grid spot. I believe he's put on the hard tyre. We've got a yellow flag. They're out on track, and it's Lewis Hamilton who's found the wall. It's contact for Lewis Hamilton. It looks like it's on the exit of turn 3. The banked left-hander of Hugenholtz. It's quite an impact though for Hamilton. Front wing off, front right tyre off, safety car out, and that is going to prove costly for some and hugely beneficial for others still left in this race.
What I imagine's happened, he's on the colder medium tyre, he's gone out, and there's a massive bump actually on the exit of turn 3. He's gone over that, had a bit of a tank slapper, although we've got to see the pictures yet, but that is what I'm imagining, as it's really unforgiving, this circuit. As we were saying, the circuit, it's any little mistake and it is, you're in the wall. So Lewis falling victim of that.
McLaren into the pits. It's a double stack as Piastri comes in. 2.6 second stop for him. Then comes Norris, slightly slower on the release. The front jack is delayed, but Norris gets out, but it's a 4.5 second stop. But crucially, under a safety car, the pit loss time is slashed in half to around about 16.5 seconds. So this is really beneficial for those who have not stopped. Verstappen comes in from 3rd, so too does Hadjar. George Russell in as well, expecting everybody to make use of this in those front running positions, but nightmare for the likes of Charles Leclerc currently is in 9th, and he got out just as his teammate, I think, went into the wall. So it depends where Charles Leclerc is on the track at the moment, but I don't think this is going to benefit him as Albon comes in as well. Charles Leclerc is coming down the start-finish straight as now Piastri's already back out in the lead. Norris in 2nd, then comes Verstappen. Quick stop for Liam Lawson, 2.2 seconds for him in the Racing Bulls. Carlos Sainz also comes in. Antonelli and Gasly all coming in as we're about to hear and see what happened to Lewis Hamilton. Into the right-hander of 2, into the braking zone of 3, turns it in, and actually, Abby, it's quite a slow and clumsy crash from Hamilton. Yeah,
just went a bit too low on the banking, and then it had a snap, went wide, up on above the white line there. You just can't recover it, and off he goes.
Are you okay?
Yeah, so sorry guys.
Lewis Hamilton apologising on the radio. He was desperate to come in for a pit stop. He had yet to do so. His teammate went in before him, and that allowed the safety car to come out and for McLaren to do a quick double stack and get back in the lead. So too for Verstappen. Helpful for Isaac Hadjar. Has helped George Russell out as well, up into 5th. Liam Lawson's It is the 7-time champion Lewis Hamilton, who we have to say has had a rather slow and clumsy crash into the left-hander of turn 3, found the wall and is stricken Ferrari now in pieces. He's out of the car, he's okay. That's brought out the safety car on lap 25. Piastri and Norris benefiting, they still lead this race. Norris on the radio.
Yep, all good.
Just checking, is the front jack man all good after a bit of a slow getaway with the front jack not coming off of that car straight away. Let's just bring you up to speed with how the order is looking then. After the chaos of the last lap, there was a 50% chance of a safety car, as we were telling you about, and we got it. Piastri, though, making gains or holding on to that gain of being in the lead. Norris 2nd, Verstappen 3rd, Hadjar, Russell the top 5. Leclerc actually was okay in the end, stays 6th. Lawson gets up to 7th, Carlos Sainz up to 8th. Then comes Ocon, who's managed to make huge gains up into 9th spot. He started on the hard tyre, so I believe he stayed out and not pitted under this safety car. Then comes Alex Albon in 10th, Antonelli, Stroll, Behrman in 13th, Alonso 14th, Tsunoda, Gasly, Colapinto, Bortoletto and Hulkenberg. The 19 cars still left in this race after Lewis Hamilton has retired. Rosanna.
Yeah, and just see Lewis Hamilton being ushered by about 101 marshals towards a car to come back to the paddock. And I'm just noticing that Max Verstappen, Harry, has chosen to take the medium tyre, so that could be helpful come the safety car restart. Yeah,
he certainly has. So, just to see who the gainers were. Esteban Ocon, who started this race down in 18th spot on the hard tyre. He did not come in under this safety car. That hard tyre should last you a fairly long distance and be able to do a bit of management under this safety car as well. That's rocketed him up to 9th spot. And the losers really were those who pitted a couple of laps before the safety car. Alonso, Tsunoda, the 2 Alpines, Bortoletto, Sauber along with his teammate Nico Hulkenberg.
Zandvoort here. I absolutely love the atmosphere. Whilst we're in the safety car period, we can get a glimpse of the fans, and it is absolutely packed on the sidelines, in the dunes.
How did Hamilton crash? Did he go on the green and the green was slippery because of the rain? Yes, it looks like exactly that. He went wide of the white line onto the green, slippery, hit the wall. Yeah, but then you should tell me earlier. This is a race-ending bit of information, so... Yep, okay, cool.
Norris there wanting to take some notes from his engineer as getting on them white lines. As we were saying earlier, it can be very unforgiving here, especially in turn 3. As soon as you're on that painted surface, just become a passenger.
Yeah, unfortunately for Lewis Hamilton, that is what caught him out in the end, and tried to correct it. Found himself in the wall, and that was his race done and dusted. Lewis Hamilton is out of the Dutch Grand Prix, our first and so far only retirement of the race. It's lap 26 of 72, and the safety car is out, but it's coming to an end. It's about to come into the pits. It's Piastri who leads Norris, so this has allowed Norris to close the gap as well underneath the safety car. He's right behind his teammate Oscar Piastri, who now takes over and sets the pace as he waits for the safety car to run away into the pit lane, and we'll wait for that first safety car line before overtaking can be done. Crawling their way through the chicane, the left-hander out through 13. And then Piastri puts his foot to the floor, and he's caught Norris out, and he's back underway and racing through the double right-handers that see off a lap. Great restart from our championship leader, Oscar Piastri. Lando Norris holds on to 2nd, but Max Verstappen was very much sniffing at the end of Lando Norris. Down the start-finish straight. George Russell looking to the inside of Isaac Hadjar. Down the inside at Tarzan, the right-hander, almost side by side between the French rookie and the British driver with a heap of experience, but it's the rookie who holds on as we now head through the left-hander of turn 3, the scene of the crime for Isaac Hadjar. We've got for Lewis Hamilton. We've got slow-moving cars in the middle of the pack. We've got Liam Lawson and Carlos Sainz moving really slowly. I wonder if they had a bit of a coming together. They're still moving, but they have just absolutely dropped down the order to last place, having both been inside the top 10. But it's Piastri who leads Norris, who's under pressure from Verstappen.
Yeah, it was really close there on the restart at the back between the Williams. I saw a bit of overlapping actually before the start-finish line, so I think potentially there would have been a penalty for that anyway, but it got really close into turn 1 on the exit. They were squirming, and I think someone hit someone's front wing. The Williams got hit, and it was all then a bit messy into turn 3, and they fully had to abort.
Hugely disappointing for Liam Lawson, who was looking at a 3rd point score on the trot. Carlos Sainz as well, who has had a good weekend all round, looking at more points in the bag. Sadly, that has come undone for now. Sainz and Lawson still running in this race, but right at the back of the pack. Lap 28 of 72. Oscar Piastri leads now with a gap of just over a second. Lando Norris sits in that gap for 2nd place as DRS is re-enabled. Max Verstappen on the medium tyre compared to those ahead of him on the hard is now just slightly losing tact with Norris after a good restart in 3rd. Hadjar holds on to 4th. Russell is 5th. Leclerc, Albon is 7th. Then it's Antonelli in 8th. Ocon just lost the position to Antonelli. He's now down to 9th. Ocon did not pit under the safety car, having started right at the back of the field on the hard tyre. Stroll is up to 10th. This has actually benefited Stroll, who pitted very early onto that hard tyre. He's now up inside the points. Behrman is 11th. Tsunoda is back where he started in 12th, ahead of Alonso. Then it's the 2 Alpines of Gasly and Colapinto, followed by the 2 Saubers of Bortoleto and Hulkenberg, as Sainz and Lawson both come into the pits. Now, Liam Lawson doesn't look like he has got damage. Rear left tyre. Looks like he might have got a puncture and it's completely fallen off the rim, and they put the wrong tyre on, or they couldn't get it off for the front left. It's a slow stop for Liam Lawson, who goes onto the soft, and it's a new front wing for Carlos Sainz. So that rather gives us a bit of a clue as to what's happened there, Abby.
Yeah, it was a bit clumsy, I think, overlapping on the start-finish here, and then going down into turn 1. A late move from Liam Lawson. Carlos Sainz to the outside. Liam runs him wide. A little bit cheeky there, I would say. Carlos should have been given a little bit extra room, but running him wide just meant the contact on the front wing to the rear left tyre.
Yeah, and it was a quick slice of the rear left of Liam's tyre, but
he's just so stupid. Oh my god, this guy is always the same guy.
Well, that's what Carlos Sainz had to say about the matter. Front wing damage and also a puncture to his front right tyre, a puncture to the rear left of Liam Lawson. That incident noted by race control.
Yeah, and really, really clumsy there, and especially when your teammate is up in 4th place. I mean, Isaac Hadjar doing an incredible job for the other side of the garage. Liam Lawson now down in 18th. It is not a great day for him.
Lap 29 of 72 after that restart, following the safety car intervention which came out for Lewis Hamilton's crashed Ferrari. The pit lane came alive. McLaren doing a double stack, whilst Norris benefiting initially, closing right up behind his teammate Piastri. He has now fallen back to 2 seconds. Verstappen is 3rd, Isaac Hadjar is 4th. Then comes George Russell in 5th. Charles Leclerc is 6th, ahead of Albon. Antonelli now up to 8th, ahead of Stroll. Ocon and Behrman 10th and 11th. Ocon starting to lose ground now on those very old hard tyres. Tsunoda is 12th, then it's Alonso in 13th. Gasly, Colapinto the top 15. The 2 Saubers, Bortoleto and Hulkenberg. Sainz has just got through, or Liam Lawson is just behind Carlos Sainz now, as those two now try and battle their way back up to the front of the field. But it will be a long old day for those two now, having looked at point scores. Now there'll be a struggle for them to get inside the top 15.
Isaac Hadjar having to really absorb so much pressure from George Russell here in the middle sector, now going into turns 12 and 13.
Moving under braking.
George Russell saying moving under braking, reporting Isaac Hadjar, you cannot move once you've committed to your line in the corner. Just trying to dob Hadjar in any kind of advantage he can get.
Yeah, I think that would have been into turn 9. There you're constantly on load on the entry, and he did stick his nose in, and Isaac moved a little bit late, but I don't think it will be late enough for a penalty.
Alex Albon and Kimi Antonelli are fighting side by side coming out of turn 1 into turn 2. It's Albon who holds 7th position for the time being. Antonelli keeping his head down, having been behind Yuki Tsunoda for so long, benefited by not coming into the pits when Tsunoda did, stayed out an extra couple of laps and then pitted under the safety car. That's put him inside the top 10. As we get a look at a bit of carbon fibre flying off of Carlos Sainz's Williams as he passes Liam Lawson going into turn 1 a few moments ago.
Yeah, having a little bit of damage still from their contact. It's not ideal for the Williams, especially when...
Virtual safety car, maybe perhaps for that debris.
Yeah, I would imagine so. It was quite a lot that flew off of the Williams there.
So a delta time comes up on every driver's dashboard. They must not go any quicker than that delta time. Virtual safety car is out for that bit of debris right in the middle of the track going down towards turn 1 as we cross over to lap 32 of 72. That incident, by the way, between Carlos Sainz and Liam Lawson is under investigation now. Piastri 2.4 seconds clear of this man, Lando Norris.
We would try and go to the end on this. Our decision will be if to add a stop, but the goal should be to get to the end.
So Lando Norris being told their position is to try and go to the end on this. One stop, lap 32, to get to the end by lap 72. So if there's going to be any overtaking, it's going to have to be done on track, which is much easier said than done.
Yeah, as we see a very brave Marshall running into the circuit under the virtual safety car conditions, grabbing that piece of carbon fibre. As VSC is coming to a close now. It's really important for the reactions of the drivers to make sure they're not caught napping, a bit like Lando was on the full safety car restart earlier.
Yeah, not quite. They don't all concertina up, do they, under a full safety car, as the virtual safety car is now ended. We are back to green flag running when we started this race 32 laps ago. Oscar Piastri had a good start. Max Verstappen managed to get in the middle of them, but that was spoiled fairly quickly by Lando Norris. Right now, though, two fights going on between Charles Leclerc and George Russell, almost making contact coming through the chicane. Charles Leclerc barging his way past George Russell as they fight over 5th and 6th. The Ferrari driver getting his elbows out, but so too for Russell as they go at it again down the start-finish straight with DRS. Russell moves to the inside. Leclerc defends through the right-hander at turn 1. Russell forced to the outside, cuts back to the inside line as the sun glints off the scarlet red Ferrari and the silver arrow Mercedes. It's Leclerc in front as they head through the left-hander of turn 3. Leclerc 5th, Russell 6th. What a fight.
That was Charles really laying his hammer down there, really showing what he's made of. Around the outside of turn 12, makes it the inside for turn 13. It was really exciting stuff there. A bit of contact. I'm sure George is going to have something to say about that, but I think that was tough racing, but fair racing.
Charles Leclerc now back staring at the rear end of Isaac Hadjar's Racing Bulls, who is still occupying 4th place. Leclerc 5th, Russell in 6th, just falling back a little bit for now, plotting his attack once more. So we're going to get another look at it. It was Charles Leclerc on the inside at turn 10 and lost a bit of ground on the exit into the DRS zone. Russell then ahead of him, coming down into the chicane, the right-hander. So late on the brakes was Charles Leclerc, practically half the car on the gravel.
He doesn't let the space. He cannot complain.
So that was Leclerc saying he wasn't left any space. How did you read that, Abby?
Yeah, seeing them going into turn 12 in the braking zone. It was actually George complaining about moving into braking earlier, but George very clearly...
Surely.
George was very clearly pushing him to the entry curb on the left, leaving him no room whilst they're at the peak of the braking.
Proper wheel-to-wheel stuff and then some. George Russell just saying on the radio, surely he was completely off the track. Hasn't popped up on Stewart's notification yet as Kimi Antonelli finally gets by Alex Albon in the Williams. The other Williams driver, Carlos Sainz, who was looking at point scores, having then come together with Liam Lawson inside the top 10. That was under investigation, and the result of that has been a 10-second time penalty for Carlos Sainz, the attacking driver. So Sainz then will have to serve that if he does pit again, or at the end of this race he'll have 10 seconds added on. But really, down in 18th, his race is pretty much run.
Yeah, as we're looking back at this battle for P3, Max Verstappen really struggling to get a grasp on the two McLarens, and Leclerc being released from George Russell going forwards. He's right on the back of Isaac Hadjar, which he's within 5/10, so he's within DRS range, whereas Isaac isn't within DRS, so he's struggling to get on the back of that Red Bull.
Got a yellow flag out on track. Doesn't look like any car has come to a stop, but the yellow flag is out, and it's then now gone green again. So maybe someone's just have a little skirt off into the gravel somewhere and come back onto the circuit. But we're not seeing anything there as Charles Leclerc continues to close up to the back of Isaac Hadjar. The top three as they stand: Oscar Piastri, who started on pole position and has led every single lap of this race, ahead of his teammate Lando Norris, who's been told on the radio the plan is to go to the end now after their first and perhaps only stops. Then comes Max Verstappen in third, trying everything to cause a bit of disruption for the McLarens, not quite succeeding. In third currently, Hadjar fourth, Leclerc fifth, Russell, Antonelli, Albon, Stroll and Ocon the top 10.
I don't think Rosanna was doing enough of a rain dance, to be honest. The sun's come out a bit now, although there's some really...
Lando, with the field spread, it's unlikely there'll be opportunities. Our best bet is just go get a straight out race.
A straight out race for Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. He's 1.3 seconds behind his teammate now. This is the thing, they're ahead, they've got a pace advantage over the rest of the field with the two McLarens. However, around this track, whilst McLaren maybe theoretically could do a two-stop, ultimately it then depends where they come out. And at the moment, there is no gap in the traffic behind for it to be an easy out for Lando Norris at least. So he's going to have to do it on the track. We had a yellow flag, I think, for a bit of debris coming off of the Mercedes of George Russell earlier on. Bit of action from the stewards room. That fight between Russell and Leclerc is under investigation now. Do you think anything will come of that, Abby, between Charles Leclerc and George Russell?
Unless Charles's car was fully over the curb on the inside and was four wheels off, I wouldn't say so. I think Russell did move under braking and didn't leave Charles enough room on the left. It was a very brave move saying that, and there was contact made, but then there wasn't space left. So yeah, it depends how they're feeling, I think, today.
Do you think the 10-second penalty for Carlos Sainz was the right action with his punch up with Liam Lawson?
No, I think that was a bit strange. I think Liam definitely went off the racing line there, went wide, and it definitely is harsh for Carlos. He definitely will feel the same, as we heard his radio message, that he didn't feel like he was in the wrong at all. But then he was the overtaking car, he was going around the outside, so he is also the one that has to make sure he doesn't make contact.
Well, one thing's for sure, Carlos Sainz and Williams will not be very happy come the end of this Grand Prix. The first race back after Formula One's summer break. School is back in session for our 20 drivers, of which only 19 are left in the field. Lewis Hamilton crashed out at turn 3, being caught out by the paint on the outside of turn 3. That caused him to lose all grip as a light spit of rain was coming down, and into the wall he went, and out of the race he goes. That brought out a safety car which benefited those in the middle of the pack who hadn't pitted yet. It didn't benefit Fernando Alonso.
Balance on the hard type. I don't know. You put me always in traffic. I don't know.
Fernando Alonso being asked how the balance is on his hard tyre, and he replying with he doesn't know because he's always in traffic. I think that's what he was saying there, with maybe a few words that I've missed out.
Yeah, you probably think, how can he not know what the car's doing? But when you're in turbulent air and you're in traffic, normally it lifts the front end up. There's less load on that front wing, which an air load, which means naturally you get a lot more understeer. So it probably is feeling a little bit numb to what he would like. The best kind of read you can have is always when you're in clear air.
Well, there are still a few sort of dark grey clouds looming in the distance. We are right by the North Sea, but then there are bits of sun peeking out.
Let's undercut all these people. I don't know, do something.
Yeah,
Don't know what you're discussing.
Fernando Alonso desperately trying to think of something to get him out of this position currently down in 13th spot, saying is it worth just pitting him now for another stop to try and find some clear air and put in some decent lap times if those others around him do stop again. But they're all on a hard tyre. They could theoretically, they could all go to the end. That's the problem, unless we get maybe a bit of rain, maybe another safety car, and that could all be something that Aston Martin are currently chatting about. That 39 of 72 though, as they head into turn 1. Behrman fighting Tsunoda right now in 11th and 12th. Well, after a safety car intervention for Lewis Hamilton, who crashed out in his Ferrari, it's Oscar Piastri back out in front, leading this race. Lando Norris in second, 1.5 seconds back, and being told there are no other options for him. If he wants to win this race, he's going to have to overtake his teammate on the track. Max Verstappen lies third, with still a small threat of rain in the air here at Zandvoort. Lap 39 of 72, Piastri, it is 1.5 seconds between the two McLarens. Verstappen, Hadjar and Charles Leclerc, the top 5, with Russell in 6th. They are both still under investigation for that collision as they were fighting through the chicane at 11 and 12.
Yeah, I'm thinking strategy here. It just doesn't make sense for them to go for a second pit stop here. If you can make it to the end, I think that's what you've got to edge your bets on, unless there's another safety car for some reason. Just because dropping back into the traffic, the DRS train that's being formed, it's making it really hard to get any opportunities. We've seen a few side-by-side actions into turn 1, but it is showing and proving to be difficult for the drivers.
Well, this midfield pack is starting to close up again, and this is what is frustrating. Fernando Alonso, Behrman in the Haas is 11th, having started in the pit lane. He is another one. So it's the two Haas cars that haven't pitted, and they are just trying to go as long as possible now, the two Haas cars. Because if they pit now, they're going to go all the way to the back, and they don't have the race pace to do the overtaking. So they're hoping for some sort of intervention, whether that be rain or a safety car, to try and maybe get at least one of their cars in the points, which is at the moment Esteban Ocon. Ollie Behrman is 11th. Then Behrman is sort of doing Ocon a favour, really, by proving the sort of cork in the bottle. Tsunoda is right behind him in 12th. Then comes Alonso, Gasly, Colapinto, Bortoletto are all right there. So too is Hulkenberg in 17th. There's only Sainz and Lawson who came together and had to have another pit stop that find themselves right at the back of the pack.
Yeah, I mean, Haas and trying to edge their bets on a second and late safety car. But if there's anyone that you trust in leaving on a tyre for a bit longer than you'd like, it is Esteban Ocon, as we hear from George Russell.
So, George, with this damage on the car, I think best opportunity for the team is invert cars at turn 1.
Sorry?
We don't think we'll be able to keep up with Leclerc here, so...
Well, yeah, Kimmy's not working with the DRS, but...
That's George Russell being told to swap positions with Kimi Antonelli, and having queried that, as we just heard, the radio messages are a few seconds delayed. Kimi Antonelli is now in 6th spot. Russell is down in 7th now, and Mercedes didn't believe that Russell could find a way past Leclerc. So does that mean they believe Kimi Antonelli can?
Potentially. I mean, he's running a really great race at the moment, Kimi Antonelli. He started in P11, now up to P6. He's looking fast. He's chunking away at Charles Leclerc, currently 4 seconds behind. So it is a bit of a strange call to swap the drivers around, as we go on board now with Kimi Antonelli up to T7, which is where they swap the drivers around the high-speed section going into Sector 2.
I wonder if they think they're going to get a penalty as well for the incident with Charles Leclerc. Possibly. We're trying to rewind the radio message and have a little listen. Russell is told to let Antonelli through. He sounds surprised. They saw Russell is carrying damage from the incident with Charles Leclerc, but Antonelli was hardly crawling all over the back of his teammate. So if that's the full reason, I understand Russell's initial query there.
Yeah, I mean, we did see a lot of debris fall off his car after the contact, and I mean, the thing here is the teams have so many sensors on the car that we unfortunately can't see, but there's so much information that the teams will have, and although maybe George wasn't feeling any issues behind the wheel, maybe there was bigger concerns back at HQ.
Well, the swap has happened, and now Russell's actually 1.8 seconds back from Antonelli, who was 4 seconds adrift from Leclerc. He's now just over 3 seconds. I mentioned that possible penalty coming Russell's way for that incident with Charles Leclerc. It's now going to be investigated after the race, so they obviously want to hear from both drivers in the stewards room and take a bit more time to look at the different camera angles that are available to race control.
Yeah, I would say it does seem probably actually like the right call, maybe not at the time as Kimi is setting personal bests, but then again he will be setting personal bests because he's not in massive dirty air at the moment. He's clawed that gap down now to 3 seconds though, so a second in only a couple of minutes, which is really impressive actually. I think he can keep chipping away and put some pressure on Charles. That would be good.
Yeah, he's 3/10 quicker in the first sector compared to George Russell. Last lap around, and I think we really need to wait one more lap to get a full indication, but last lap was 1:14.6 from Kimi Antonelli. George Russell a 1:15.3. and has now dropped to 2.5 seconds, almost 3 seconds back from his teammate. So we're going to get another look. We're going to get a slow-mo replay shot of George Russell here. Is there any damage that we can see? The floor edge looks like it's taken a bit of a bite out of it when it's come across the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. So that is clearly the damage that Mercedes are referring to. Slowing down Russell, not able to really put up the fight that Mercedes think is needed to try and get Charles Leclerc's 5th spot. Lap 44 of 72 here in Zandvoort, the first race back after Formula One's summer break. It is now 10 races, including this one, till we get to the checkered flag in Abu Dhabi. And the two championship protagonists started this race on the front row, and they lead it. Oscar Piastri, though, looking to extend his championship lead, which came into this race as 9 points. If he can finish ahead of his teammate Lando Norris today, that number goes up to 16 points. But he's got Lando Norris right behind him, 1.2 seconds the gap. But overtaking around this tight and twisty track is easier said than done, and with not many other strategic options available to Lando Norris, and from his conversing to his engineer on the pit wall, Will Joseph, it seems like the only option remaining if he wants to take the win here in the Netherlands and make it back-to-back Dutch Grand Prix victories, he'll have to do it on the track. But Piastri has got the advantage. Norris second. Verstappen, who managed to get in between the two McLarens in the early stage of this race, courtesy of starting on the soft tyre quickly, demoting Lando Norris to third. Norris was able to repass him a few laps later, and Verstappen then trying all his might to cause some disruption, but in the end the Red Bull just does not have the pace to keep up with the McLarens consistently in the race. Ferrari driver Lewis Hamilton crashed out on lap 23 in his in turn 3. That brought out the safety car. That allowed McLaren and most of the front runners to get a cheap pit stop under the safety car, where everybody has to go slowly. The pit stop time is slashed in half. Piastri and Norris double stacking in the pit lane, re-emerging at the head of the field with Verstappen in third. Hadjar still holding on to fourth. If he can hold that, it will be a career best finish for the French rookie. Leclerc is 5th. Antonelli now having just managed to swap positions with George Russell and get ahead of his British teammate. Was closing in on Leclerc, but has kind of petered out at around 3.1 seconds now. Russell, though, with floor damage from contact with Charles Leclerc, down to 7th. Albon is in 8th. Stroll benefiting from the safety car having stopped very early in this race. The Canadian, who started last after crashing in qualifying, is up to 9th. Esteban Ocon and Ollie Behrman in the Haas car started at the back. Behrman from the pit lane, not pitting under the safety car, on hard tyres, eking every lap they can out of it before they come in for their mandatory pit stop. But they are hoping that something might help them get a cheap stop and hold on to a point score with one of their drivers. At the moment it's Ocon, and they are keeping the entire midfield behind them. Tsunoda 12th, Gasly right behind in 13th, ahead of his teammate Colapinto. Bortoletto and Hulkenberg, the two Sauber drivers, in 15th and 16th. They did pit Fernando Alonso a second time to try and do something and get him out of that midfield battle. He's come out in 17th spot, and he's now right behind this midfield pack again. So I'm not entirely sure of the thought process on that one. Carlos Sainz had a collision with Liam Lawson. He's been given a 10-second time penalty. That dropped him out of the points. He's now in 18th with Liam Lawson 19th. Lewis Hamilton out of this Grand Prix. Yeah, we've settled into a bit of a rhythm now. The rain not quite coming our way. Piastri still leads this race, looking to take his advantage in the championship fight up to 16 points. But Lando Norris, desperate to try and find a way through, is just 1.2 seconds behind his teammate. We do get a penalty, 10 seconds.
Who gets a penalty? Me? You get. Are you joking? You're joking. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing I've heard in my life.
Carlos Sainz, I don't think he's too pleased with his 10-second time penalty there, Abby, and I think you're almost in agreement with him.
Yeah, that's kind of the response I expected from Carlos, being a bit surprised on who the penalty was actually for. It was, as I said earlier, I think it was a really, really harsh penalty, and he was deserved space around the outside a bit more than he was given, and the contact was then, yeah, I mean, they both are out of point scoring positions now. But I want to actually look a bit further forward at Lance Stroll. He's doing a really great job, whereas strategy questions on Alonso's side of the garage. Lance Stroll now from last on the grid, P19 of the starters, up now into P9. So if he can nurse his tyres back, it's looking like they can turn his weekend around a little bit.
Yeah, from a big crash in practice in turn 3 that saw him lucky to escape injury, his car not so much. The team broke the curfew overnight to change the chassis on his Aston Martin. Then he crashed again at the start of qualifying, whilst his teammate made it inside the top 10. Stroll had it all to do from the back, but pitting, I think he pitted on lap 9 and put the hard tyre on and just stayed there, and has now worked his way up the order courtesy of everybody ahead of him pitting under the safety car. So it's worked out for Stroll so far. Let's see though, that hard tyre will degrade and will start to get tricky, much like Ocon and Behrman's tyres, but with a little bit more left in it for Stroll. Let's see if he can hold on to anything. The two Haas cars still out there. Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris still 1.5 seconds adrift. I mean, really, for Lando Norris, Abby, what does he have to do? Does he just have to force Piastri now into some sort of mistake?
Yeah, well, that was exactly what I was going to say, really. Force Piastri into a mistake. Around here, it's not the hardest thing to do, to be honest. It's really easy to overstep the margins, just put a wheel on the grass here or there, and really reap the consequences. But I mean, he can try and push Piastri, try and make him pick up his pace, make him use his tyres a bit more. But he's out of the DRS zone. He was struggling to even get within the DRS range. So I would say Norris is hurting his own tyres more so than anything else right now.
Well, lap 49 of 72, as it starts to settle in, or very much is settling into a rhythm here in Zandvoort. One man very much not in a rhythm, out of his car, crashed out in turn 3, caused a safety car. Lewis Hamilton, who was looking good for a point score, the 7-time champion in the Ferrari. Let's hear what he had to say, speaking with Rosanna.
Lewis, I'm glad to see you're all right. It looked like a simple mistake from watching on the screens. What actually happened?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. I just had a snap going into 3, and then I couldn't recover it.
We heard you on the radio asking the guys to think about an undercut for you. Is there work to be done in terms of how the team go racing to optimise race strategies?
No, I think we're on a good strategy. We're on a good strategy. I think we had good pace at the time, and I think we had a good chance to progress and get ahead. Just,
Lewis Hamilton then felt like everything was going his way in terms of strategy, but in the end found himself in the wall.
Yeah, and of course he was one of the drivers last year actually to start on the alternate strategy, being on the soft tyre, pitting 14 laps in, I think it was, to then go up to P8 and score some points. So yeah, this weekend, happy again with his strategy, but just didn't manage to materialise anything and ending in the wall.
That's his first retirement due to an accident in each of the last 5 seasons for Lewis Hamilton, highlighting how uncharacteristic it is for the 7-time champion to find himself out of a race like that. Fernando Alonso has got his wish of a second pit stop and is caught right up to the back of the midfield pack he was in, but he's on much fresher tyres. He's all over the back of the 2 Sauber drivers, Hülkenberg and Alonso, taking wildly different lines with every corner that comes, just highlighting Alonso's confidence. He's going to take the lower line coming into turn 3 of Hugenholtz. Hülkenberg takes the higher line, but Hülkenberg gets the momentum of being shot out of the top at turn 3, and Alonso then just has to wait once more behind him. And that's what's, I mean, there's no points up for grabs here, is it? It's just, you look at, you talking about Lance Stroll earlier, Abby, contrasting fortunes for the 2 Aston Martin drivers.
Yeah, I mean, Alonso showing his nose there, telling Hülkenberg he's there and I've got the fresher tyre, but not quite making anything of it in turn 3. It's a hard track to overtake on in turn 3, especially going on that lower line. You've got no traction, you can't carry the speed. As we go down up to turn 12, right on the back, DRS flies open around the outside on the braking. Fernando Alonso around the outside, a bit tidier than what we saw of the Ferrari and Mercedes earlier on in the race. But yeah, that is a job done by Fernando, making use of them fresh tyres.
Lovely move from Fernando Alonso, but as you say, I think aided very much by those fresh tyres compared to Nico Hülkenberg's tyres, as Hülkenberg now drops back quite quickly. Alonso's next target will be 15th place man Gabriel Bortoleto.
I've been watching Fernando actually, and he has so much confidence on the brakes. He's always gaining into the braking zone of turn 1, and there he used all the potential he could and all that confidence in the braking of the Aston Martin in turn 12 and made that stick.
He's coming right up behind his protege, Gabriel Bortoleto. But we've seen these two actually fight quite hard so far this year when they've come together on the track. So let's see how much of a fight Bortoleto puts up against the wily old fox. I think Fernando Alonso will have the advantage still of that confidence those fresh tyres are giving him, with a lovely move just half a lap ago on Nico Hülkenberg. Right, fresh from speaking with a rather dejected Lewis Hamilton. More positive, I hope, Lewis Tennant? Rosanna Tennant.
I've been Roanna, I'm now Lewis.
I'm off my game.
I'll be whatever you want me to be. But yes, he did sound a bit dejected. His answer just kind of dwindled, didn't it, Sir Lewis Hamilton? Harry, I'm waiting in the pit lane to see the Haas drivers, Esteban Ocon and Ollie Behrman. They're doing an incredible job managing their tyres. Still out there, lap 52 on those hard tyres. And they were meant to last until about lap 38 or maybe even until lap 44. So they're doing really well. I wonder if they were hoping there might be another stoppage or maybe even more rain, but I tell you, the sun is starting to break through the clouds here. We've even got a bit of blue sky, so it's going to be a tricky one for them to know when to come in to get rid of those hard tyres and opt for a softer compound. But yeah, who do they pull in first? Do they give Ocon the lead chance, or here we go, we got Ferrari. It's getting exciting. We've got Ferrari out in the pit lane, Harry, instead.
Yeah, we just had Kimi Antonelli come in and put a soft tyre on, and now Charles Leclerc is going to come in and respond to Antonelli. And this means actually Isaac Hadjar is ahead of these guys both. He's still out there running in 4th as Charles Leclerc hits his markers. The hard tyres come on, the soft tyres go on. And it seems like a neat and tidy stop for the Monegasque. 2.1 seconds. Where is Antonelli, though? Here we go. Antonelli making his way down the start-finish straight now into turn 1, which is where Charles Leclerc is. He feeds his way out through the exit of turn 2, but Antonelli's tyres will be up to temperature much more than Charles Leclerc's. Will now be losing temperature. Dives down the inside at turn 3, and there's contact. Antonelli hits Charles Leclerc off into the gravel. Rear right damage, front wing off for Charles Leclerc. He keeps it going, he spins it back around, safety car is out, but Charles Leclerc has taken a huge amount of damage there from Antonelli, who tried to dive down the inside at turn 3, and the smallest of contacts leads to a huge bit of damage for Charles Leclerc. He looks like he's out of this one. Is this a double Ferrari DNF as both McLarens come in to the pit lane? It's a double stack for Piastri, who puts his tyres on, but it's slow on the rear left. That holds up Lando Norris, who now comes in, surely securing Piastri's position right now. You wonder if Norris might have wanted to stay out and try something different, but actually under a safety car that would not have benefited him either. Everybody coming in, Verstappen pits, so too does Isaac Hadjar, whereas George Russell, he is currently in 5th, 40 seconds back, as 3.3 seconds for Max Verstappen. He should peel out back in 3rd. Hadjar puts on the soft tyre, slightly slower stop from him, a second slower than Verstappen, but he should be clear to come out in 4th. Russell comes into the pits now as we look at a rather broken Ferrari of Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, both Ferraris out on the exit of turn 3, although Charles is no fault of his own, tapped on the rear left from Kimi Antonelli, going for a brave dive up the inside on that soft tyre, on that cold tyre, and as we see him limping to the pit lane, fully taken off the rim, the tyre, having to change for a second set of soft tyres. Yeah, not a great day in the office for Ferrari.
This will benefit the 2 Haas cars that see where they were on track. They hadn't pitted yet. Ocon might have actually just pitted before the safety car, so this will benefit Ollie Behrman. We're getting a look now again at Kimi Antonelli going down the inside. It's so heavily banked there. It's 19 degrees of banking through the left-hander of turn 3. The usual line's the higher line, which Charles Leclerc takes, and Antonelli comes sidling in.
I think that was unnecessary. I mean, we can never know what happened, but honestly, the tyres felt good. Anyway, I'm getting out.
Well, that was what Charles Leclerc felt about having to pit anyway. We've already had one Ferrari out into the wall in the form of Lewis Hamilton, and we've now just lost the second Ferrari, Charles Leclerc, with big damage after a collision with the Mercedes of Kimi Antonelli. Both Ferraris now out of this race. Safety car is out. McLaren double stacking their cars, both coming into the pits. Oscar Piastri still leads this race from Lando Norris and Max Verstappen 3rd. I mean, is that a rookie error? Is that a silly mistake? Or is that a racing incident for you, Abby, between Antonelli and Charles Leclerc?
I would say it's a rookie error. I mean, of course, coming out the pit lane, Charles, he had the cold tyres, and Kimi saw his opportunity, but he just wasn't quite close enough going into turn 2 and then into turn 3 to make that dive. I mean, it was front right to rear left contact, which took the Ferrari out. So I think that says enough. But both the Mercedes and both the Ferraris not having a great day, as Russell's got the damage, which will actually take a lot of pressure off the back of Hadjar, because the Mercedes and the Ferraris were breathing down his neck.
Yeah, Hadjar is looking very good here. His best race result so far has been 6th back in Monaco. So certainly looking pretty for the French rookie right now. Safety car out, lap 55 of 72. Our second safety car of the race, because of the second Ferrari finding its way into the wall, but being biffed there by Kimi Antonelli's Mercedes. Piastri then having used that opportunity to pit along with teammate Norris. It's status quo at the front. Piastri, then Norris, Verstappen 3rd, Hadjar 4th, Russell 5th, Albon's now up to 6th. Antonelli had to come in for a 3rd pit stop after damage, has managed to come out in 7th. That incident has been noted. Then Gasly, a big beneficiary of this safety car. He was one of the others who hadn't stopped yet. He put a hard tyre on now and stopped and has made his way up into 8th. And Fernando Alonso got his dream. He finally jumped the midfield pack and is up into the points in 9th. Gabriel Bortoleto finds himself into the points now as well in 10th. Ollie Behrman didn't quite work out for the Haas cars in the end, but he's gone onto the medium tyre, so he should have some pace in the last part of this Grand Prix, just outside the points at the moment in 11th. Then comes Stroll in 12th, who was looking good at points, now in 12th. Tsunoda 13th. Ocon, who stayed out for so long, couldn't reap the benefits, down in 14th. Colapinto 15th, Hulkenberg 16th, Lawson 17th. Carlos Sainz still querying his 10-second time penalty that he was given for contact with Liam Lawson. Is currently the last car on the track in 18th, with both Ferraris retiring. Ferrari had a 100% finishing record this season until both their cars retired today. Leclerc out and Hamilton out.
Yeah, I would say both the McLarens going to the hard tyre, it would make Verstappen will be grinning.
Double yellow where you are, double yellow where you are.
Oh my God, man. I could not see him at all. Yeah, you saved me there, man.
It's okay.
Communication there with Liam Lawson and his race engineer. That just shows how important it is to have these radios and have constant communication, as it was blind on the exit of turn 3. You've got to look up to see around the corner, as I say. That avoiding an incident for Liam Lawson, as we see a 10-second time penalty for Kimi Antonelli.
Justified?
I would say so. I'm not surprised that that's come through. I mean, a horrible day in the office for him, and obviously Mercedes carrying that damage with Russell.
Presuming Antonelli will not come into the pits again if we get green flag running to the end of this race, and that will be added on to his race time, which will likely drop him out of the points, but we'll see where they lie. Lapped cars are now being allowed to overtake the safety car. That is just Liam Lawson and Carlos Sainz, who now wind their way to the front of the field and will join up at the back, and then we'll get the safety car back into the pit lane and get back to green flag running. But Sonoda is what you'll hear next.
Okay, you did not have power until 40% throttle. We could not fix it on track. Try and get used to it under the safety car just now.
So Sonoda then, it sounds like he's not getting all the power that he would quite like down in 13th at the moment.
Yeah, being made to adapt mid-race to that issue that he's facing. So 40% of the power or throttle, he's got to adapt to that, and the unresponsiveness that he's going to feel coming out of the corners is going to be tough for him, as we hear that the safety car is ending this lap, so we'll be getting under green flag conditions soon.
Yeah, as Lawson and Sainz make their way to the back of the field. Piastri is our race leader ahead of Lando Norris, Verstappen, Hadjar and George Russell, the top 5. Albon is 6th ahead of Antonelli, with that 10-second time penalty applied for his collision with Charles Leclerc. Gasly up to 8th, Alonso up to 9th, Bortoleto up to 10th, Behrman is 11th ahead of Stroll, Tsunoda down in 13th with issues on board his Red Bull, Ocon is 14th, Franco Colapinto rounds out the top 15 with just Hulkenberg, Lawson and Sainz the remaining 3 cars in the field. No Ferraris, both retiring from this race.
It looked like Piastri nearly ran into the back of the safety car there, going out of turn 9, as we see the safety car lights turn off and peeling into the pit lane.
Okay, Oscar Piastri slows right down. Last time out after our safety car restart, he went straight out of the chicane at turn 12, which is where he is now. Both McLarens, first and second on the hard tyre. Max Verstappen, Hadjar, Russell, Albon right behind them, all on the soft tyre. Will that give them a bit of an advantage? Piastri puts his foot to the floor, and we are back racing here in Zandvoort, coming towards lap 58 of 72 for the Dutch Grand Prix. It is the championship leader who leads this race ahead of Lando Norris. It's a better restart though from Norris, but Verstappen is right with him as well. Will he try it down the inside at turn 1? No, it's line astern as they make their way out the exit of 2. However, Verstappen gets a great launch out of 1, closes right up to the back of Lando Norris. Through the left hander we go at turn 3. All the cars almost pitched to their sides on the left hand side, but no, Verstappen applying some pressure, but then the opportunities run out for the Dutchman. It's Piastri, Norris, Verstappen, Hadjar, Russell, the top 5.
Going into turn 2 there, Max was right underneath the gearbox of Norris, telling him, I'm here and I want to find a way past you. But actually Isaac Hadjar being one of the few, with Max having a really great restart in P3. Hadjar was caught napping a little bit and fell off the back, although catching back again now to Max Verstappen.
Behrman has just demoted Gabriel Bortoleto down to 12th spot. Actually, Alonso is the one who's making all the moves at the start of this race, fighting with Pierre Gasly right now, back and forth over 8th and 9th. Behrman now up into 10th, Stroll 11th, Bortoleto has fallen down to 12th, but Piastri has re-established his lead at the front. 1.2 seconds now as they barrel towards turn 1. Rosanna, what more?
Well, what a punchy and aggressive choice from Max Verstappen to opt for the soft tyre for that restart. We saw how effective it was at the very beginning of this race, which feels like a year ago. Interesting to see how the fortunes have changed yet again for Aston Martin, with Fernando Alonso now up into P9. We were talking about how badly the race had panned out for him, and his teammate Lance Stroll now out of the points. And the day's got even worse for Kimi Antonelli. He's under investigation for speeding in the pit lane. That was when he was coming in with his tyre off the car to have that changed in that last pit stop with that collision with Charles Leclerc.
It goes from bad to worse for Kimi Antonelli, does it? Not the race he would have wanted to come back after the summer break to, needing to find that confidence again. We've seen flashes from Kimi Antonelli, but so far there have been a lot of mistakes creeping in as well for the young Italian who turned 19 years of age in the last week. Piastri now only 9/10 ahead of Norris. Verstappen third, then comes Hadjar fourth, Russell fifth, Albon sixth, Antonelli, Gasly, Alonso, Bell in the top 10. Then comes Stroll. Tsunoda's just got through on Gabriel Bortoleto, who's falling down the field into 13th spot now ahead of Ocon, Colapinto and Hulkenberg. The top 16 with just Lawson and Sainz 17th and 18th. Both Ferraris out of this one now as we peel out of turn 1 through the right hander of turn 2. Left through turn 3 of Hugenholtz for the two McLaren drivers. The gap now under a second. Norris is hunting down Oscar Piastri. Last lap around, Lando Norris a 1:12.3. Oscar Piastri a 1:12.9. If Norris wants to make the move and win this Grand Prix, he has to do it on the track.
Yeah, Lando is not letting up, but Oscar has responded with a purple sector 1 on that hard compound, so and a purple sector 2 as well. So he's really trying to get Norris out of the DRS zone to be able to have a bit more comfort out in front.
We've seen this before, though, with the two McLaren drivers. Piastri is almost able to just manage. He's made such a huge step in terms of tyre management that he almost seems able to, when he needs to, let Norris or whoever's behind him get a bit closer, but still have the confidence to know that he can find that gap again straight away, just to allow his tyres to breathe. And before you know it, as we head into turn 1 again, the gap is already up to 1.3 seconds.
Yeah, and I think it's partly a mental game as well. He's playing with him, and I think Lando knows it.
Battle between 5th and 6th, 0.3 of a second splits George Russell, who's got floor damage, to Alex Albon in the Williams. They're making their way through the left-hander of turn 3 now. Difficult now to get an overtake. Bortoleto comes into the pit, his strategy not panning out for him. He'll fall all the way to the back of the pack for the Brazilian, the reigning Formula 2 champion, whose hopes of consecutive point scores have now been washed away. Lap 61 of 72. Piastri leads 1.4 seconds. Norris in second. Verstappen on the soft tyre in third, followed by Hadjar, who is having the race of his life, you have to say. Started this race in fourth, holds on to fourth right now with Russell the top 5. This is the sound of Franco Colapinto making his way down the inside. I think of one of the salvage, the hat I should say, of Esteban Ocon at turn 10. A little bit of contact actually between the two, and then he loses out in the chicane. Well, he's fighting hard with the salvo of Nico Hulkenberg. Colapinto now 14th ahead of Hulkenberg. Ocon just ahead, and actually that midfield pack as close as it has been throughout the entire race so far. Lap 62 of 72 confirmed for Kimi Antonelli. 5-second time penalty, speeding in the pit lane, and he will have quite a bit of time added to his race time once he takes the checkered flag. He's in this battle for 5th. He's 6/10 behind Albon. Russell's now back in front of his Mercedes teammate after Antonelli found himself in the wars.
Right, it's not Billy.
Copy, Max.
So Max Verstappen completely at ease and happy with how his car's performing then.
Yeah, as always, making really nice comments about the car to his team this year.
He's not happy with that Red Bull. They have seemed to have made progress though since the last time we saw them out in Hungary. But Max Verstappen, who is so used to being on the top step of the podium here, 3 times a pole sitter, 3 times a winner, didn't win last year, that went to Lando Norris, but at the moment is staring at picking up a podium. Hadjar within touching distance though, less than 1.5 seconds behind his Red Bull teammate. even though Hajar is racing for the junior team, Racing Bulls, all operated under the Red Bull banner, with 10 laps to go then, here in Zandvoort for the Dutch Grand Prix.
Yeah, as we see, Behrman actually has just made a move into turn 1 on Pierre Gasly to move up into P8. He's been hounding him for the last couple of laps since the restart and finally managed to make the move stick. And the gap now for Behrman to Kimi Antonelli is 8 seconds, so he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to keep moving forwards.
Just looking a little bit in the middle of the top 10, you have to say Alex Albon has had a brilliant race. He made huge gains on lap 1. He started this race in 15th, and he's really benefited from some of the safety car strategy decisions Williams have made. He's now up in 6th on fresh soft rubber, and it's almost a little bit reminiscent of Nico Hülkenberg's late stop in Barcelona, where suddenly he was able to rocket up the order in the final stages of the laps of the race. He's currently 6th is Alex Albon. He's just 8 tenths behind George Russell. 5th place is doable here for Alex Albon.
Yeah, especially with the damage that the Mercedes has as well. I'm sure that he hasn't got the most confidence behind that car, whereas Albon, yeah, he's drove a blinder, to be honest. I mean, especially after the heartbreaking qualifying, he was a bit frustrated with the strategy going out of qualifying. So the Williams team seem to be making up for it a little bit more today.
Change of order inside the top 10. Lance Stroll has just overtaken Pierre Gasly out of the final corner with the aid of DRS. Stroll from the back now up into 9th spot. That puts Gasly down into 5th and into the clutches of the other Aston Martin, Fernando Alonso.
Possibly a few very light drops in 3 laps time will be less than at the start of the race.
Better get those dancing shoes on, Rosanna Tennant. Few light spots of rain in the next few laps.
Dancing shoes? Sounds like I need my Wellington boots, Harry. Another big winner, when we were talking about Stroll being a bit of a winner this afternoon, Ollie Behrman as well, starting from the pit lane. Brave choice to stay out long on that hard tyre from the start of the race and then benefiting from that second stoppage. He's now on the medium tyre and he's up to 8, so a cracking afternoon for the British driver.
Yeah, those medium tyres really coming in handy. Gasly's a bit of a sitting duck at the moment. He's going wheel to wheel with Fernando Alonso coming into turn 3. Alonso having to sit behind him, but Gasly on the hard tyres, which are screaming enough.
I got smoke coming from the cockpit, I think. I smell something funny.
That's Lando Norris reporting perhaps a bit of smoke, and he's got smoke coming out of the back of his McLaren. It's light smoke at the moment. Here he is on the radio again.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm on fire or not. It doesn't smell good. Smoke in the cockpit.
Okay, mate, we'll check it.
Lando Norris is pulling to the side of the road. Lando Norris is out of the Dutch Grand Prix. Smoke coming out of the back of his McLaren. Verstappen goes up to 2nd. Hajar's up to 3rd as Lando Norris will see crucial points fall away from him in this championship charge. He's done. Norris making moves to get out of that car. The smoke, it's not exactly billowing out, but there's enough. He's pulled off to the side of the road. The safety car is out. We've got a safety car once more because it's disaster for Lando Norris. Reports of smoke coming out from the back of his McLaren. He's pulled off to the side of the road and looks to be out of the Dutch Grand Prix. 0 points coming in his way in this championship charge, whilst his teammate looks set to pick up 25 for the win. Wow. I mean, Abbey, he's out of the car. The marshals are there with extinguishers on hand. And this is what we don't want to see, but this is part of Formula One, isn't it? Reliability can come into play as Will Joseph, his engineer on the pit wall, has got his head in his hands. In this modern day of Formula One, we don't see this very often anymore. No, but lots of things can go out of your control in racing, and that is the hard part about it as a driver. I mean, absolute heartbreak for McLaren and Lando Norris's side of the garage, but actually, as he pulled over to the side, all the Verstappen fans and the Orange Army were cheering and jumping with joy, which is a bit brutal, doing it right in front of Lando Norris, but actually one of the big gainers from that as well, Isaac Hajar up into podium positions, so potentially he can come away with some silverware with the 6 laps remaining. He needs to really knuckle down now and try and fend off from the likes of George Russell behind. What an image this is that we're looking at right now. Lando Norris sat in the dunes, takes off his knee protectors, his shin pads, his helmet is on, he clasps his hands and he just sits there with his head down. Is this going to be what we'll reflect on at the end of the year as where perhaps part of the championship fell away from Lando Norris? We've still got 9 races left to go after this one, but you do not want to be walking away from a Grand Prix weekend with 0 points, and your teammate looks set to collect 25.
Well, it was huge championship ramifications for Lando Norris. He wants to score as many points as possible, not let any slip away from him. And here, this is a big points lost, especially as long as Oscar doesn't seem the same fate. A huge points loss to Oscar Piastri.
Oil leak. I'm out. Failure.
Okay. Can you bring it back, mate?
I'm out. No, it's gone.
Okay. I'm sorry, mate. Mate, you were fast today. You were really fast.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, mate.
I know. You were fast.
I know. Unlucky, boys. Unlucky.
Feels like Will Joseph, Lando's engineer, is more gutted by it than Lando Norris actually is. Feeling very much like that's the way the cookie has crumbled for him. But you have to say, Norris, who was fastest in FP1 and FP2 and FP3, Q1, Q2, and then missed out by 12 thousandths of a second to his teammate for pole position. You have to feel for him.
Yeah, Lando almost didn't want to hear it. He knows that he's been the one to beat this weekend, although not quite making it in Q3. But yeah, big emotion from the pit wall. They know that counting back after Abu Dhabi, this could be what loses him the World's Driver Championship at the end of the day.
Oil leak for Lando Norris is what he's reported on the radio. Is he now, Rosanna? He's got up and helmet on, and he's got a bit of a walk back. I think might maybe pick up Charles Leclerc, who's also still chilling out in the Dutch dunes after his retirement.
Yeah, and I don't know how Charles Leclerc's managed to get hold of a mobile phone, but I've just seen a shot of him on his phone. You're right, Lando Norris.
He's calling a taxi.
Off. Well, yeah, it's difficult to get them around here at Zandvoort. But Lando Norris has got his helmet off. He's been waving to the crowd. But Harry, this takes me back to 2016, the Malaysian Grand Prix, when Lewis Hamilton had that retirement, an engine issue then. And of course, that extended Nico Rosberg's lead in the championship back then to 23 points. This time, Oscar Piastri is now extending his lead over Lando Norris to 34 points. That is a huge leap from the 9 points that separated them coming into this weekend.
Massive. If Piastri had won and Norris second, the gap would have only been 16. If Norris had won this race, Piastri in second, the gap would have been 2 points. But Piastri looks set to take victory. Still needs to cross that line though. But Norris looks, well, for certain not to pick up any points, and that gap to be, as Rosanna was saying, 34 points. Safety car conditions currently, lap 68 of 72. What that's done to the order now with 3 cars out. When was the last time we had Hamilton, Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris all out of a Grand Prix? Only 17 cars remain. It's Piastri who leads the way. Max Verstappen now up into second. That got a huge standing ovation from the Orange Army in the grandstands, all here to support their Dutch hero. Isaac Hadjar in third place. Started this Grand Prix in fourth, has been holding on to that position pretty confidently all race long, and luck is swinging his way, and he's been promoted up into a podium position. Must be on course to be the first French driver to score a podium since Romain Grosjean. Albon is fifth behind Russell. Antonelli sixth, but with a penalty to come his way, or a couple of time penalties to come his way. That will really help the likes of Ollie Behrman, who's had a great leap up the field through the safety cars in 7th. Stroll 8th, Gasly 9th, Alonso 9th, Gasly 10th, Tsunoda is 11th, Ocon 12th, Hülkenberg, Colapinto and Lawson the top 15, with Bortoleto and Sainz at the rear of the field. Safety car is ending then, and Oscar Piastri closes the pack up once again in the chicane. Max Verstappen reports light drizzle. We're into the final few laps of what has been a roller coaster ride of a Dutch Grand Prix. Piastri just has to go to the end now and fend off Max Verstappen, who will try and throw a spanner into the works. Piastri, once again with his foot to the floor, gets the restart he needed into the penultimate corner, the right-hander, which feeds you into the 18 degrees of banking that spits you out of the final corner of turn 14. screen as this race is back underway. Oscar Piastri heads down to the right hand of Tarzan, turn 1, and leads this Grand Prix. Verstappen in second, Hadjar in third, desperate to cling on to that podium. George Russell, though, will be sniffing that right behind him, but Russell managing floor damage. Albon right behind him in the Williams 2 in fifth.
Another poor restart there for Isaac Hadjar. Had George breathing down the back of his neck going into turn 1, but it's all kind of spread out a little bit now. Everyone's going into sector 2, the high-speed corners of turn 7, 8 and 9. A really tough stuff at this part of the track, as Max Verstappen is not letting up on Oscar Piastri, really breathing down the back of his neck.
Piastri, Verstappen, Hadjar the top 3, Russell, Albon the top 5, Antonelli, Behrman, Stroll, Alonso and Gasly the top 10. They are your current point scorers. Tsunoda is in 11th ahead of Ocon. Then it's Colapinto, Liam Lawson is 14th ahead of Nico Hulkenberg, Sauber, Gabriel Bortoletto is 16th and Carlos Sainz 17th and last of the runners after a collision and a time penalty to boot. No Lando Norris, oil leak has put him out of the race. Charles Leclerc, after a collision with Kimi Antonelli, out of the race. Lewis Hamilton, a collision with the wall, out of this race as Tsunoda gets himself up into the points. He's gone 7 races and not scored a single point in that Red Bull. Could this be the day where he finally gets to take home 1 point? But staring at 25 crucial championship points on lap 70 of 72 here in Zandvoort, nestled in the dunes right by the North Sea coastline as the cloud cover continues to grey over. It's Oscar Piastri now a second ahead of Max Verstappen.
Yeah, holding on now until the rain is due to come, as we see some drizzle on the cameras, but it's looking okay for now. We heard it reported from Max a lap ago, but yeah, I mean, what a race so far with, as you say, the 3 big hitters out. Max Verstappen putting pressure on in front of the Orange Army.
I think, though, Verstappen is not able to really keep up with Oscar Piastri. Alex Albon just falling a little bit behind George Russell. And Hadjar has pulled away from Russell, 1.1 seconds the gap now. Hadjar holding his own in that Racing Bulls. Hadjar aiming for only the 6th podium finish in the Faenza team's history through its various guises. Alpha Tauri, Toro Rosso, Racing Bulls. Could he be the man to take their 6th podium, and for him to take his first podium in his rookie season? As Pierre Gasly, further back in the field, is told to swap positions. That happened a few moments ago. Colapinto's now to 12 and Gasly, I wonder if he's actually come into the pits potentially, but he's fallen all the way back to 16th spot now. The race going away for Pierre Gasly. Colapinto having a better run of things, but still no points to show for the Argentine racer. But with pressure being heaped on him by his boss Flavio Briatore this weekend, Colapinto having a decent showing so far here in the Netherlands.
It's actually the closest battle on track now is between Alex Albon and George Russell. So Alex wanting to make even more places. He started in 15th, as we said, now in P5. Can he make it P4 by the end of this race? Going soon on to the last lap as we're 71 laps into this 72-lap race.
There's been an incident noted for Tsunoda and Gasly. So we did see Tsunoda, we didn't see it, we saw it on the timing tower, Tsunoda getting through on Gasly, and now Gasly has just plummeted to the back of the field, so I don't know if there was perhaps some contact there. Final lap of this Grand Prix, just a few more corners left to run for Oscar Piastri, who has fallen by in the last couple of races, with Lando Norris picking up the wins as luck not quite swung the Australians' way. The last Australian to stand on the podium here in Zandvoort was way back in 1981 with Alan Jones. Oscar Piastri is managed by the former Formula One driver Mark Webber. 9 wins for Mark Webber in his career. A win for Oscar Piastri sees him equal what his manager achieved in Formula One, and it only feels like Oscar Piastri is just getting started. In only his third season in Formula One. He is up the ante. He came off the back of the summer break in charge of the championship. He will extend his championship lead. Oscar Piastri wins the Dutch Grand Prix. He extends his championship to 34 points with his teammate Lando Norris left to pick up nothing. Instead, Max Verstappen gives the home fans something to cheer about and finishes second. And arguably the biggest cheer from the paddock goes to Isaac Hadjar. The rookie, the Frenchman in the Racing Bulls, finishes third on the podium. He becomes the 5th youngest podium finisher of all time and the youngest French driver to stand on the Formula One podium after Pierre Gasly did it in 2019. What a result for Isaac Hadjar. George Russell comes home in 4th. Albon is 5th. Behrman gets 6th place. A huge result for the British rookie who started from the pit lane. Lance Stroll recovers a poor weekend to finish ahead of his teammate, but it's double points for Aston Martin. Yuki Tsunoda finally back into the points in 9th, and Esteban Ocon makes it a double points finish for Haas as he steals the final point inside the top 10. 3 retirements: Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. Just 17 runners finished that one. And let's hear from your race winner.
Great job, and a fantastic performance all weekend. This was a relatively tough weekend for us last year, and that's been really strong, really strong.
Woo! Nicely done, everybody. Nicely done. Yeah, good weekend in the end. Yeah, obviously sorry to Lando what happened, but yeah, on our side, well done, everybody.
And I feel like that is what has typified Piastri's season so far. At the tracks where he struggled last year, he has come back and been mighty.
Yeah, I mean, even at the start of this weekend, he said in free practice he just doesn't quite have the grip on what Lando is able to get out of the car. There's a few corners he was struggling with, and going into Q3, he fixed everything he needed to and came out on top and has been unbeatable since that point.
What an end to that Grand Prix. Unfortunately for Kimi Antonelli, those cumulative time penalties really added up and saw him fall all the way down to 16th place in this race, only ahead of Pierre Gasly, the last of the finishers, as the pyrotechnics go off here in Zandvoort. Just one more race to run for the Dutch Grand Prix, scheduled next year, and then it falls off the calendar. And while sometimes the racing can be one to wait around for in the Netherlands, I think today's Grand Prix showed us exactly what a roller coaster ride it can produce, as Oscar Piastri pulls up into that Parc Fermé P1 position on the start-finish straight, climbs out of his car slowly as your race winner here in Zandvoort. A round of applause from the grandstands. It's the Orange Army, not for the Papaya Man, but for their man Max Verstappen, who finishes second on the podium. Heartbreak in the end for Lando Norris, forced to retire his car. Oscar Piastri takes 25 points for the win, and he extends his championship lead to 34 points. Verstappen second, and Isaac Hadjar with his maiden podium in Formula One third. I mean, what do you say about that, Abby? Piastri acknowledged it on the radio. No one ever really wants to see your teammate retire in that way when you're both battling for the championship, but I suppose these things come around, and now there'll be thoughts that could this happen to the other car at another race too.
Yeah, I mean, now they've had it happen though, they'll be able to get on top of it. And yeah, I mean, Oscar did, as we hear, Isaac Hadjar get congratulated by his team, but Oscar, he'll have said, I'm very sorry for what's happened, but he'll know it gives him an advantage going forward, and that means that Lando's work is really cut out for him for the second half of the season.
That was the sounds of Isaac Hadjar running straight towards his team to celebrate. That result has put Isaac Hadjar up inside the top 10 of the Drivers' Championship. Over in the constructors, McLaren still have a mighty lead. Racing Bulls, with that podium, put themselves right up into 6th spot. Williams didn't pick up. They picked up 5th place with Albon. Crucial points for them to keep hold of 5th in the constructors. 75 points to their name. 63 points for Racing Bulls. 52 points. I think that's not quite updated yet, but Aston Martin also gets some more points. So too for Haas as well, who put a bit of distance between themselves and Alpine. Franco Colapinto just missed out on his first points of the year in 11th. But a mighty result for Hadjar. Straight to Red Bull then next week, is it, Abby?
I hope not, because I want to see him be able to be right behind Verstappen continuously. So if he goes to that Red Bull seat, well, I don't know if he'll be able to continue that.
Let's hear, though, from second place man Max Verstappen speaking with Guido van der Garde.
Verstappen, second today. I think that was probably the thing that you could do, not more. It was not easy.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. Gave it everything at the start, to move forward. Little moment in turn 2, but after that we just had to do, our own race. Unfortunately, we didn't have the pace of the McLarens. Then we got a bit lucky, of course, with one retiring, but. In general, to be on the podium here is a great result. So to be in second, I think, is a really, really good achievement for us.
Tell me about the moment, because it looked quite a bit oversteer, no? In turn 2, you tried also with Oscar doing outside on turn 1, but then you went also outside of Lando in turn 2. But you had a huge moment there, no?
Yeah, I tried to send it into turn 3, but unfortunately there was too much sand in turn 2 from the middle of the track to the outside. I knew that we had the softer compound, so I tried to make it work on that first lap.
Last year you also finished second. All the years you've been on the podium right now, from all the moments in Zandvoort. Can you have also a word in Dutch to have all these fans here with orange?
Ja, natuurlijk het hele weekend is ongelooflijk weer geweest. Zoveel oranje en steun. En het blijft gewoon altijd heel bijzonder om hier te rijden. En natuurlijk dan uiteindelijk ook om hier op het podium te staan.
Thank you very much. All the best.
Well.
Thank you.
Max Verstappen, second place. Speaking with former Dutch Formula 1 driver Guido van der Garde. Those two have known each other a very long time, up through Max's career. We'll hear next from
Isaac Hadjar, your first ever Formula 1 podium here in Zandvoort. You must be over the moon.
Yeah, it feels a bit unreal. What was most surprising to me is keeping that 4th place for the whole race. Unfortunately for Lando, we took advantage of his puncture, and we did no mistake. The car was on rails the whole weekend, and I'm really happy about myself because I really maximized what I had, made no mistakes, and brought home the podium. So I'm so happy for my guys.
Could you have ever dreamed this before, when you were a young kid, to stand here to have your first podium?
Yeah, that was always the target since I was a kid. So this is the first step, my first podium, and hopefully much more.
Many more to come. Congratulations. Enjoy the moment, especially with the team.
Youngest French driver to stand on a Formula 1 podium, Isaac Hadjar.
Oscar, you are a Heineken Dutch Grand Prix winner. How must that feel?
It feels good, obviously. I feel like it's a pretty hard act to follow Isaac standing up here, so I'll try my best. But I controlled the race when I needed to, and obviously it was incredibly unfortunate for Lando at the end. But felt like I was in control of that one and just used the pace when I needed to. And there was a bit of a different race to 12 months ago. So very happy with all the work we've done to try and improve around here, and very satisfied to come out on top.
Yeah, last year you struggled a little bit here. What did you change to have this success and the win here?
Nothing special, just trying to improve everywhere we can. And, the start of this weekend was looking like a difficult one, and managed to get it together in qualifying. And then, I was happy with the pace I had today. So, very, very happy. Obviously, a couple of safety cars that spiced it up a little bit, and we weathered it all. So I'm very proud of the whole team, and wasn't just myself that improved to get here. It was with the whole team around me, and without them, none of this is possible. So it's a big team effort.
I think it's a perfect start for the second part of the season, not?
Yep, starting out on top's a good way to go. So if we can keep it running, then that'd be great. But there's a long way to go yet, and keep doing it one race at a time.
You're looking forward to next week already, Monza?
Yes, I am.
Good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oscar Piastri, the winner.
The momentum shifts again, Abby Pulling. Or does it? That momentum word. Oscar Piastri doing what he needed to do, coming from behind all weekend long to pole and Grand Prix victory. A champion in the making.
Yeah, I mean, his mindset and how he goes about things, he's just really hard to beat. He is the definition of a generational talent, I think. Even going through the junior ladder, he was hard to beat. So, I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of this season plays out.
And for Lando Norris, how do you bounce back from this as a driver with a mechanical retirement losing you crucial points?
There's not really much he can do. He's got to obviously understand with the team what did happen, but at the end of the day, Lando didn't put a foot wrong. He did everything he could. Okay, maybe the start, if he could have kept his position, that would have been better, but it was always going to be hard against the likes of Verstappen on that softer compound.
Well, the gap coming into this race between Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris was just 9 points. Now it is Oscar Piastri who leads the Drivers' Championship by 34 points over his teammate Lando Norris. But we don't have long to wait until we go racing again. Next week, Formula One pitches up in Monza, and we will enjoy an Italian Grand Prix where the two McLaren drivers came close together last year as well. What awaits us then? Thank you, Abby Pulling. Thank you to the whole team. Rosanna Tennant is off getting all of the driver interviews now, so we will hear from them in our Checkered Flag podcast race review, which will be on BBC Sounds and wherever you get your podcasts a little later on today. So do join us for all the analysis of that. But it's Oscar Piastri who has won the Dutch Grand Prix ahead of Max Verstappen and Isaac Hadjar, who has taken his maiden Formula One podium for Racing Bulls. A roller coaster of a race here in Zandvoort, but that is us done here in the Dutch dunes, and now we can head over to Lourdes for the 100 women's final.
Welcome to listeners on Sports Extra here in the women's final.